everyone, I hope y'all are having a great day, and today I'm going to be talking about Allegiant by Veronica Roth. It's really difficult for me to review this book because, as you might know, I'm probably the biggest Divergent fan you'll ever meet. I have my Divergent collection here. I'm wearing my Divergent shirt, if you can see it, and I've tatted myself with the erudite symbol, and just, yes, my life practically revolves around Divergent. This is the book I've been waiting for like a million years since I read Divergent in 2011, and reading the conclusion to your favorite series is painful. Really, really painful, especially in this case, but I'll talk about that later. This is actually my second time trying to review this book. The first one was basically just me crying in front of the camera, so hopefully this time I'll have a better hold of myself. By the way, this review video thing will just be dripping in spoilers, lots of spoilers. Go away if you haven't read this book. If you haven't read the series, please pick it up. I think it's definitely worth a read, and just, yeah, if you haven't read it, go away. Goodbye! First, I want to say that while it's acceptable to dislike a book, especially in this case because I understand that there are going to be parts of this book that are going to be extremely controversial within the community, it's not okay to be disrespectful to Veronica Roth. You're allowed to hate a book. You're allowed to hate Allegiant. No one's allowed to tell you how to react to a book. But as readers, I believe that we shouldn't bash authors. I think that's crossing a line. But you know what? Whatever. Let's talk about the actual book now. Conclusions in series, especially series like Divergent, require lots and lots of explanations and answers. A lot of negative reviews for Divergent and Insurgent mention the fact that there's a lack of world building or not enough explanation for the setting and how it's set up and why it's like that, which I guess I can understand, but I hope that the people who wrote that in their reviews will pick up Allegiant because this book has all the answers. I think Veronica Roth did a really good job at explaining everything, trying to keep it balanced while not just pouring out info dumps. I liked finally realizing why the factions existed, why the fence existed, and what was beyond the fence. I will admit that I thought what was beyond the fence was just very typically dystopian, but I liked it nonetheless. What I wasn't really expecting was the gene thing and how the damaged genes and the pure genes were such a big deal. It was kind of ridiculous in my mind, actually. I thought Tobias not being Divergent was definitely an interesting twist. To be honest, I wasn't all that pleased with Tobias during Allegiant. I thought he was pretty whining and he just frustrated me really often, even more than he did in Insurgent. Of course, I still love him, but I don't like the way he reacted to finding out he wasn't Divergent. I understand where he's coming from because no one wants to be told that they're damaged, especially in a way that they can't control, such as like their genetic makeup. But it was like finding out he wasn't Divergent seemed like the end of the world to him, like he was somehow less of a person, which he wasn't. And I love how Triss reassured him over and over again that regardless of whether he was Divergent or not, didn't change who he actually was, that he's still the same person that he was when she first met him. And I thought that was really sweet of her to say, and I completely agree with her. Just Triss in general is so amazing, but I'll talk about her later. My least favorite Tobias moment was when he accused Triss of being jealous, because really, that was just petty. To be honest, I thought the plot was slow at times. It was kind of like a sine wave. It had its ups and downs, and during the boring parts, I would kind of like skip ahead to see where the chapter ended and just sludge through it. Speaking of chapters, this book was alternating between Triss and Tobias' point of view. I thought the POVs were just blurry, I guess. There wasn't really a distinct difference between the voices, and I wish there was. It kind of just blurred together, and if I hadn't checked the beginning of the chapter to see who was speaking, I probably wouldn't have realized it. I really liked Triss and Tobias' relationship in this book. In Insurgent, it was very, very rocky between them because they would both keep secrets all the freaking time, and they wouldn't just talk and be honest to each other, so it caused so many rifts between them. And I'm so glad that the first thing they did in Allegiant was sit down and talk to each other and promise that they were going to be honest. They agreed to have no more secrets between them. That was just the best decision in the world, and I love how they actually went through with it. I mean, sure, Tobias did have a few lapses, kind of. He kind of struggled a little bit, especially with Nita, whom I hate very much, just so you guys know. But overall, I think that was an awesome thing for them to do, and I love them so much for it. By the way, speaking of Tris and Tobias, did they have sex at the end of chapter 41? Because it's like kind of like a fade to black moment, and it's very, very vague. Extremely, extremely vague. And so I didn't think that they had sex. I didn't pick up on that at all. But then I went on Tumblr and people were like, oh my god, they did it. And I was just, what? Did they? I'm not sure. I reread it and I don't know if they did or not. I really don't know. I don't know if it's open to interpretation or if they actually did and I'm just stupid, but I don't know. I don't know. Tell me, did they? Did they? And yeah, now let's hit the most serious part. And probably the part where I might cry. Hopefully I won't, because I've cried several buckets of tears already and I don't think I have enough to produce more. But yeah, let's talk about Beatrice Pryor. I think I've mentioned this in a previous video, but Tris is my favorite fictional character ever. And that's a really big freaking deal. I've loved her since the beginning, and I love her even now. Surprisingly, she was actually really funny in Allegiant. I was like, Tris, when did you get a sense of humor? Because she just sometimes says really funny things, and maybe it's because of the contrast to the gloomy, dark atmosphere, but I cracked up so hard. There are just so many reasons to love Tris. She's strong yet vulnerable, she's intelligent, she's brave, she's selfless, and what I think I like the most is that she has a really good moral compass and she has a really, really good instinct on judgment, I guess. I love her for that. We've been through so much with her, alongside her, through her perspective. From her haircut before the choosing ceremony to her last stance in the weaponry room. She's just been such an incredible narrator to follow through this series. She's just been so amazing and I love her so much. But I suppose that a fire that burns that bright is not meant to last. I should have seen it coming. I should have known the second Veronica Roth announced that Allegiant was going to be in both Tris and Tobias' point of views. But I didn't. I kept on hoping that there was going to be some miraculous way for Tris to live. She didn't. Of course she didn't. I have never cried more over a book. Not The Fault in Our Stars, not Clockwork Princess, not any of the Harry Potter books. They don't come close to how much I cried over Allegiant. Because Tris is my favorite character. My favorite character has never died in any book, and now she has. I mean, I guess it's good that she didn't die for nothing. She died for the right causes. It definitely wasn't an empty sacrifice or because of guilt like it would have been if she died an insurgent. And I think that shows just how much Tris's character has developed. When Tris died, it felt like I died too, because it was just losing someone so important to me. I think reading about her death was probably the most painful thing I've ever experienced. Especially after passages like, I laugh, and it's laughter, not light, that casts out the darkness building within me. That reminds me I'm still alive, even in this strange place where everything I've ever known is coming apart. I know some things. I know that I'm not alone, that I have friends, that I'm in love. I know where I came from. I know that I don't want to die, and for me, that's something. More than I could have said a few weeks ago. Maybe it was wishful thinking. I wanted Tris to have a happily ever after. She deserved it. She deserves it so much more than anyone else ever. She's done so much and she's lost so much. She's lost her family, and after her brother even betrayed her, she still finds the will to stand strong. She's the bravest, most selfless character I've ever encountered. And she's just the most forgiving person, because even after what Caleb did to her, she says, I love my brother. I love him, and he is quaking with terror at the thought of death. I love him, and all I can think, all I can hear in my mind are the words I said to him a few days ago. I would never deliver you to your own execution. No character has ever been more perfect than Tris. I love her endlessly. And the thing is, you can't even be mad at Veronica because just Tris's self-sacrifice is so in character of her. It was the most obvious and genuine way for the plot to go. But I think the worst part about it is that now that Tris has died, you can't go back to Divergent and Insurgent and reread it without thinking Tris dies. It's so tough because it's in her perspective. Allegiant just has tainted the other books in the series, and it's irreversible. Also, at the end of books, especially at the end of series, readers are usually allowed to fantasize what would happen in the future. Like, before reading Allegiant, I fantasized about Tris and Tobias having children and raising them in this perfect world. You can't do that anymore. They obviously can't have a family. Tris is dead. She's dead, and nothing will bring her back. Half of me is depressed beyond measure, but the other half of me is in denial. Like, oh, Tris is not really dead. Allegiant hasn't really come out, but I mean, it's right here. But yeah, I don't think Tris's death is something I'll ever recover from, but I'll try. The people in the Divergent fandom, we can be mended. We mend each other. Another character that stood out to me was Christina. Sure, Christina still has her family, but when you put it in perspective, she's lost so many people. She's lost Will and Tris and Uriah. By the way, Uriah's death was... No, I love Uriah. I loved Uriah so much. I remember Christina telling Tris that out of the 10 initiates that were transfers, only 6 of them were still alive. Now there's 5. And one of them is just wandering around without his memories, which, by the way, I was so disappointed by. I expected a lot more of Peter's character, especially after Insurgent, and he fell flat. One of my favorite quotes is when Tobias says, "There are other kinds of people in this world. There's the kind like Tris, who after suffering and betrayal could still find enough love to lay down her life instead of her brother's. Or the kind like Kara, who could still forgive the person who shot her brother in the head. Or Christina, who lost friend after friend but still decided to stay open, to make new ones." That just sums up so many things. Allegiant is a powerful book. It's sparked some significant emotions, whether positive or negative. Allegiant is a good book. It's heartbreaking and devastating, and part of me wishes I'd never read it, but it's still a good book. There are so many great themes and messages that Veronica has woven throughout this whole trilogy, like the meaning of sacrifice and the importance of family, and how important it is for you to choose the right path. It's just really, really bittersweet, more bitter than sweet, letting go of the Divergent trilogy because it's over now and my favorite character is dead. But despite that, I'm so thankful for Veronica for giving us such a wonderful trilogy to read and enjoy and anticipate. But more than that, I'm glad she's given me Tris. Tris is my favorite character in the world, and death can't change that. Let me know what you thought of Allegiant. Whether you liked it or hated it, I would still love to know, so please leave me a comment, tell me what you thought, tell me how many buckets of tears you cried, and yeah, I hope you guys are having a great day. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye!